Welcome to Quickcasts from Yoga for First Responders. I'm Eric Brenneman, and in these bite-sized episodes, we'll bring you quick insights and practical tips on the power of yoga, breathwork, mindfulness, and meditation specifically for first responders. Whether you're on a quick break or between calls, we've got a nugget of wisdom to help you stay resilient and focused. Let's dive right in.
Hey guys, it's Olivia. And in this quick cast, I want to bring something up that I haven't really heard discussed, but it really chaps my ass. And at the risk of turning this quick cast into a virtual soapbox, I'm going to discuss the subject matter in the spirit of giving you empowerment, tools, and permission to trust yourself. So here we go. Let's talk about feedback. Blah. If you're part of any team, especially corporate, I'm sure you've gotten an earful about the importance of receiving feedback. But have you ever thought, what's the difference between feedback and just someone's random opinion? In the day and age of Yelp and Google reviews, what is authentic and what is simply an easy platform for bitching behind a keyboard? We may have been taught to listen to feedback with grace, but why weren't we also taught to receive feedback with boundaries? When we open ourselves up to feedback without boundaries, we are leaving ourselves vulnerable to people's opinions, which have been formed from trauma, shame, shadow, and programming that they develop throughout their lives. People feel differently about every situation, so how could anyone create something that serves everyone? Especially since we need to serve their ego in order to receive a positive response. And this is why the feedback culture can be problematic to one's creativity and mission. Okay, I'll admit feedback can be useful, and I'm going to end this episode on a positive note with examples of how it's helped me and why. But the question remains, how do you keep yourself open to growth yet protected from the biting tongues of people's egos? Let's think about Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech. Here's a segment. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Whew, I love that quote. It gives me chills. Ask yourself, who do I personally respect? Who has done what I am doing or want to do? Who would I consider a mentor whose feedback is for my highest good and best interest? Who shows me the same amount of respect that they ask of others? Who makes me feel special simply because they thought to take the time to help me grow and improve? So let's say you offer a service and ask customers to review their experience. To really benefit from using reviews as a tool, it's important to look at trends, not outliers, good or bad. If there is a common theme to the feedback you're receiving, that would be worth noting. Another tool is not to be the one reading the evaluations or reviews that come in, especially if they're reviewing something that feels personal to you. Scathing or disrespectful responses can still sting even when we know that reviews and feedback can be tainted. Therefore, consider asking someone else to scan the reviews and then give you a summary or report on common trends or anything worthwhile or critical for you to know about. An outlier, even one with a knack for spinning prose to make themselves seem important, should not be brought to your attention. This is important for your mental health and your creative spirit. In my experience, those who preach the blanket importance of ruthlessly asking for and accepting feedback have always wanted to appear altruistic and mature and a true professional whose opinions they think should also be valued. But I'm going to call bullshit, and here are two examples why. In the early 2000s, I worked for an athleisure clothing company that shall remain nameless. Its culture was heavily built on accepting feedback with a sort of thank you, may I have another attitude. This never sat well with me. Yet the response to questioning their motives was that I was overly sensitive and had to do major work on myself, and I believed them. So they sent me and many other employees to a program called Landmark. This is not the episode where we go into Landmark, but give it a Google and you'll soon pick up on the vibe. Ignoring my intuition, I willingly headed to Landmark and basically introduced myself with, "It's me. Hi, the problem, it's me." I was ready to get back on the straight and narrow path of abandoning myself in order to believe everyone else. Soon after this, though, the entire company I was working for, starting from the top, was exposed as manipulative and controlling with a side of misogyny and sexism. The company was so much of a pressure cooker that at a different store and at a different time from when I worked there, one employee fucking murdered another employee. Yet again, my intuition was right, and I didn't have enough trust in myself. See, that's the thing. The toxic culture of feedback makes you second guess every move and instinct you have and put blind trust in everyone else but yourself. No, thank you. Side note, it feels good to be in my 40s and embrace my thank you next attitude. The next story is more recent than this, about 5 years ago, when my very own program and my own personal teaching of this program got a scathing evaluation. Yes, the very same program that has served and supported thousands of first responders and has had two clinical research studies with findings that show a dramatic decrease in post traumatic stress and an increase in resilience was called the most disrespectful, misogynistic, yeah, you heard that right, a female founded and predominantly led organization, and was the worst thing they had ever experienced in their life. They went on to list all the traumatic events in their life like a resume. Let me clarify that this person's terrible experience was isolated. One person, one evaluation. So, why was it brought to my attention? Because at this time, I didn't know how to make and hold personal and professional boundaries. This is when I'd still throw myself to the wolves, thinking that that was the noble thing to do. It was this attitude, among other things, that led me to hit a major wall of burnout in late 2019. As an organization, and myself personally, we spent way too much time and energy on one person simply because they were demanding it from us. It was clear that what triggered this person's anger was that our training tool, and again, me personally, was asking them to process and heal their trauma and turn it into something else. This threatened their identity. And like any animal who is threatened, they show their claws. So let me give you a couple questions to ask yourself when someone would like to give you feedback. And it can help you decide if you are being supported or not, and if you even have the space and capacity to receive it. One, in general, is this person showing not only me, but others kindness and respect? Does this person have an expertise or relevance in the subject matter I am working in? Three, do their thoughts show a common trend? Four, does their advice further my needs or their personal narrative? So, thanks to boundaries, experience, and those questions I just listed, I am now able to take advantage of really great advice and perspective. Here are some highlights that I appreciate. In the recent launch of our online instructor school, trainees could see all the work and effort we were putting in to the content and the efficiency of learning. So, when they shared on the community platform what they would need to make their learning experience easier and more effective, I ate it all up and couldn't wait to implement these things. And that's because we were all on a shared mission and we all had stake in the game. They want to be instructors, and I want them to be instructors. We are investing time, energy, and money in the creation of the course, and they are investing time, energy, and money to take the course. We are in it together, and it made me feel so special to know that these folks were taking the time to write out what they loved about the course, but also what they needed to be successful. Everyone was respectful, which made me only want to support them even more and as best as I could. Another element to consider is how you ask for feedback. I am conscious of structuring questions within an evaluation in a manner that will show me trends. So, for example, instead of, "What did you think of training, good or bad?" I ask what value, if any, they got out of the training. This will lead to feedback I can apply because my goal is to offer as much value as possible. So, when my students reported in a recent evaluation that the app was hard for them to navigate because they didn't know where to start, I wanted to get that corrected as soon as I could. So, yes, it is also up to you to structure questions that lend themselves to valuable feedback and not just a platform to complain. Always remember your part in the equation. So, not all voices deserve your attention, and not all critiques are constructive. Trust your instincts. Cherish the voices that care about your personal evolution, even when it's hard to hear. Because at the end of the day, it's your journey, your mission, your vision, your happiness, and your one wild and crazy life. We are all figuring out this life together, and none of us are getting out alive.
Hey, before we go, I want to remind you that training your mental and physical health is incredibly important, especially for those working in high stress jobs like first responders.
And if you're interested in learning more about yoga for first responders, visit yogaforfirstresponders.org for our on-demand training app, online course platform, in-person training, and more.
Like this podcast, subscribe, and give us a great review. We are so happy to have you part of the YFFR mission.